It gives me great pleasure to make the next two presentations. I mentioned to you this is my 24th year at And of course, I would be remiss if I did not introduce my mentor, Professor Clark Hall-Pike. Twice as long as I can. Yes, he has. How many years, Professor Hall-Pike? 48. 48 years. So you talk about knowledge. Every day he finds his way to my office, or I find my way to his office. And we just talk about stuff. That's the mentoring part. But along with that, the question is, can you teach entrepreneurship? Well, here's the evidence. Where's the evidence? And the evidence is in those individuals who are living it, not talking about it, who are living it every day. And I can go on and on about the field of entrepreneurship. Everyone thinks it's a sexy field. It's good to be but here's the real story. Those who've gone on the journey and the twists and turns they have and the stories that always appeals to me. Every entrepreneur has a story. And each of you have to become very good at telling your story. The better you can tell your story, the more impactful it is. We heard stories today. People will listen to a story before they'll listen to a presentation. So maybe you want to tell your story rather than present something. Okay, so I have two people whose story is remarkable. The first young lady I met when she was 18 years old. She wasn't 18, she was 17. Were you 17?
Yeah.
17 years old. Working two jobs, I don't know how she was working two jobs, and she had that entrepreneurship flair about her. She graduated with her associate's degree at 18. That summer, she was in my office with her mother with the keys to her business, Eternal Tan Salon in Elgin. Since that, now that's been over 15 years ago. 15 years ago, so she has been on a journey. And I have stayed in touch with her, and I've heard her stories. I've heard her stories through COVID. You can imagine a business, a tanning salon going through COVID. A lot of challenges, and that's where it gets fed as an entrepreneur. And she came through that, and she has a story to tell. But she opened two salons. And at 18 years old, and here she is now, 15 years later, she has some bling on her finger, which means something. On Groundhog's Day, February 2nd, she's going to get married, so I'm proud. I'd love to come, but I got to go to Costa Rica? Okay, Costa Rica, that's a little bit out of Professor Earl's league. but I'm so proud to introduce, and we're calling this the 2025 Distinguished Alumni Award to Mandy Jano, the owner of Eternal Tan Salon. Just a minute and a half, please.
I was not prepared for this. Thank you, that is, I'm extremely humbled. Thank you. Talking about mentorship, Professor has been my friend.
I can do this if you're 17.
I know, I was like, since I've met him. I was exactly in their shoes. I worked at a tanning salon when I was in high school. He knew I always wanted to work for myself. I taught myself the ins and outs of the industry. I fell in love with the industry. My motto has always been, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So every single day I still go to my salon, and we're talking now, I've been in the industry over 20 years, and I love it I love it more than when I first got into it. So fast forward, I graduated high school a full year early. I just wanted to get on with my life. I did that. I signed up at UCC, got my degree in entrepreneurship. 10 days later, signed my lease. It's been the most challenging thing of my life, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Getting through COVID, we had to completely kind of restructure the business, and that's where Professor Earl and I did come together, and we both collaborated that we need to transition into wellness. That's where the world is headed, health and wellness, health is wealth. And so shifting into red light therapy and saunas and just things to really expand and change the business. So that's been going great. Very, very happy that we have introduced that. And again, that is due to the amazing mentorship of Professor Earl. And yeah, I'm so proud of all of you guys. This is the #1 field that I'm so passionate about. I am always open to answering any questions. If anybody, I've had students come and shadow me at my salon just to see what a day is like. Always open to that, always open to helping you guys. Keep going. I know sometimes it seems impossible, whether that be because of finances, whether that be because of your own personal limitations. But if you have the belief in yourself and you know that this is your passion and you believe in yourself, you can take it to the moon. You can go anywhere with it. I have so many more plans. This was actually not the first business I was supposed to open. I had a whole nother company for my business plan that I've written, but this just happened to come first, and I'm going to use all of the tools that I've learned from this to launch my next company, which I can't speak about yet, but I'm very excited about that, and I just want to keep going.
While we're presenting this certificate, what's consistent with Mandy and consistent with our next honoree is there's something called a serial entrepreneur. It's not uncommon that you all have multiple interests. That's a characteristic of entrepreneurs. And so, in my 24 years, I have not met an entrepreneur who has as many different ideas as this next individual. Again, he was in the same class with Mandy. That was a great class. These individuals, they just had that burning desire to make all of this happen. We had limited budget, but they had the desire to do it. And our next honoree, Demetrius Smith. I remember in my small business class, Demetrius, and I'll just go back real quickly. He had rideshare before rideshare was popular. He had a taxi cab service on campus. I said, what student comes to class in his own cab service? So I said, Demetrius, could you take us one lunch? He brought his vehicle around, took our whole class for a tour around Elgin. That was Demetrius Smith. Not uncommon. About 10 years ago, he started Team Entrepreneurs. And one of the things that he doesn't speak a lot about, but he has gratitude. He gives back. And I appreciate that trait in him. He talks about, subtly he talks about giving back to his people within his family, but he's certainly contributing. He's contributing to some of the recognition that we're going to provide for you. So, with my real gratitude that I introduced one of our longtime entrepreneurs, Mr. Demetrius Schmidt.
Professor Earl just dragged me to I only got 2 minutes. The road to entrepreneurship, you guys, I heard them say knowledge over there is the key. A fool with money soon will part. I got a couple friends that came across a lot of money, started the same business I started. They walked out within 1 year with more trucks. Professor Earl talked about the cab company. When I first came to ECC, I had a car selling business as well. So I used to come to classroom with thousands of dollars on me. And Professor Earl like, that's small, you think it's small term. So he used to torture me a lot. I was okay with the small term because it came in steadily, but he always told me to grow. Always think about scaling up. So it was his words that made me buy like 6 cabs. So the only problem is we spoke about COVID. 450 square feet office moved to 2,000 square feet. 6 vehicles, 4 car notes, 6 cell phones. The whole world shut down on us. The drivers refused to put anybody in the car because CNN had it acting like it was just flying around in the air if they went outside. So I kept it open myself for like 6 more months, from January to like May. May 11th was my last day that I sat in my office, looked outside, it was only my personal cab company outside, and I just shut it down. Walked away with $67,000 in the hole. But what I did was sit down with my big brother. My big brother's always, I'm the youngest out of 5 boys, 2 girls. We are entrepreneurs. So my brother's always trying to make me be the little brother up under them. My brother taught me a thing, he liked the slingshot. He making all his money doing the slingshot across the country. So he gave me the idea to start my own DSP. I started with 1 truck, now I got all 4 Mercedes DSP, where you're doing delivery service providers. Those took off during COVID. While I was in my office downtown Elgin, suffering, Wells Fargo calling me about their line of credit they can borrow me, DSPs took off. And that's the route I went in. And once I leave here, you guys, believe it or not, I'm gonna switch back out to my work clothes, so I can go right back to work. So entrepreneurship is a road that you're gonna go on. It never ends. You're never gonna stay to the business that you start off with. You may start off that way, but you'll never end that way. And I want to say one last thing, or not one last thing, but I want to give credit to Professor Hallpipe. He was the key about branding. So it was your branding in the marketing of any business. No matter what I did, I always scaled way more than outside myself. And it goes right hand in hand with politics. So it taught me about the marketing aspect. Corey, what you saw, Corey Dixon earlier, he's an Elgin City Councilman. And we started with absolutely, nobody knew that he existed. But it was your technique that taught me about branding. We tricked the whole community of Elgin to vote for a guy that they didn't even know what color he was. We smoked the polls to the press, took pictures of him everywhere. He went, but the problem was nobody knew him. They just believed in him because we tricked the masses of the branding of Corey. So that's my technique that led me to go into politics, and it works. He's a good guy, so don't get it wrong. He does a lot of charity work. And then next is Chuck. Come here, Chuck. I wouldn't be here at all if it wasn't for his wife. Oh my God. This program, she tied me into this program so much, and like you said, I give back so much money to assist all this, but it's just his wife. Years and years, I mean, we sat here day in, day out and fought to midnight. To ECC police will put us out. It was his wife that did all this, and I remember our first use in high school, it was Hampshire High School. Professor Earl gave us the idea, but then he wanted to scrap it. But I told him no, that's the smartest idea ever. And then I was like, okay, I'll fund it. So Professor Earl went along with it. And once it started falling through, he said, I'm glad you said that, because next thing you know, this is what we got today. Professor Earl created that idea, but it was Hampshire High School, our first high school we bought here to this campus over a decade ago. So I just wanted y'all to acknowledge that it's your professors that will play a large role in your life the older you get, because Hall Pike, the one that taught me about branding, and we tricked the whole city. Now we practically run all the city, well, 6 3-hour way votes. Professor Earl taught me never think small, always go big, and everything I do now is go big. But that action will keep me working. And it's because of his wife. It's his wife that I think about all day, every day. I come and stop in to visit him. She's not currently here with us because she had a stroke. But Susan, all this is possible because of Susan, Professor Earl, and Professor Hall Pike. Just missing one. And in place of her, I had to get him with me. So you guys take care.
And we do have the final results. Before we reconvene back to the Seagull, there was a third entrepreneur, and she has been in business for 17 years. I remember 17 years ago, she was going on spring break, she was going to Mexico. And she came back and she said, you know, I had a few of those drinks with the umbrella in it, and now she was out dancing, and she said, I'm gonna start a dance studio, 17 years ago. The next thing I know, Jamie Vargo opens Vargo Dance in downtown Geneva. And Jamie is not here today. Where's Jamie? She's in Mexico City doing training. I said, well, Jamie, we can try to get you on Zoom. But Jamie said, well, Professor Earl, I'll get it later. So I just wanted to acknowledge Jamie Vargo as one of our other entrepreneurs. I am so proud when you see them come back and start to tell their story. You know that they're on the right path and they're going to be fine. So I challenge each one of you. You don't have to start a business, but tell your story. Where's your gift? Where's your gift? Talk about your gift. Develop your gift in whatever field it is, and that'll be your story. And that's where we're going to talk about where entrepreneurship is headed. When I started teaching this, the definition of entrepreneurship was a person who takes a risk to start a business. That was over 30 years ago. It's expanded now to talk about the mindset. What's next, I keep saying. And that's what we're going to talk about when we get to back in the auditorium. Now,